Hi, we are NoonaTalk. I'm Zara.
And I'm Sophia.
Welcome back to a brand new episode. Okay, if you are watching this real time, we are back much sooner than we usually are. Surprise? You're welcome for the gift. It's just that people have no respect for our release schedule. I mean, these K-pop idols, they're like dropping their albums back to back, and we can't help it. We have to talk about all of it. You know what you're here for. You've read the title, you've clicked it. We will get into, let's say, in a very like short and to summarize it, I guess, Jennie's sort of independence from the polished world of K-pop. That's what I wrote down in my notes. We will discuss that. But before all of that, what's been up, Sophia? How's it been? I know, I mean, it's only been a week since we last heard you,
hmm
but tell us what's going on.
I will be soon moving into a new place of my own, which I'm very excited about. And very interestingly, the walls are ruby colored.
Oh my God. It
Mm-hmm.
was meant to be.
It was meant to be. Yeah, very excited. If anybody has any decor like ideas, please leave them in the comments or send them in our DMs because I am searching of what to do now. What goes with red? Maybe you should ask Jenny.
Yeah, clearly she is the like main spokesperson for that color now. Like we've all decided this. I had a really exciting weekend. Oh my god, I watched amazing acts like Shawn Mendes and Louis Tomlinson, but more importantly, Green Day, which was insane. And afterwards, in like moment of surprise and lucky girl syndrome kicked in, I got a video message from Billy Joe Armstrong.
Wow, that's so crazy.
It was really unexpected. Yeah, I think I can die happy now. What else is there left to achieve? That's what's been happening with me, but there's a lot happening in the world. Sweet Dreams by Hobie featuring Miguel has released. Did you listen to it? Did you have any thoughts, opinions?
Yeah, I really liked it. Like I thought I love Miguel and it was like a nice chill, dreamy bop.
Yeah, I think it was really cute. I've been enjoying all the promotions that are being done for it. The whole flower pop-up that they had in New York, I thought it was a really cute idea. I do have to say, I feel like diamond necklace is going to be the new champagne confetti. And my man's J Hope does not care about the rumors on the internet because he did do a TikTok with Nyan. I mean, Momo was also there, but he's like, what dating rumors couldn't be me? Where I watched Louis Tomlinson this weekend, and that was the first. I was never really into One Direction, so I mean, I just got a couple of his songs. There were other sets that were happening, but in the entirety of the performance that I watched of his, he was. We've talked a lot on this channel about how we don't really have like strong issues with lip syncing, but like, oh my god, Louis Tomlinson was like using the mic as a prop. The mic was not on.
Oh no.
Which I don't know if it's the nicest thing to do, especially if, like, I don't care if you're not singing, but like at least pretend, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And speaking of lip syncing, I think there's been a lot of like videos of Cat's Eye recently also going around where they are very evidently lip syncing. But what it felt like to me was part of their song was lip synced, while the others they are singing live or at least over a very strong backing track. I think sad because they're so new in their like career trajectory to fight such allegations always like brings down morale, I guess.
I don't think anybody escapes the lip syncing allegations. Like Shiza had lip syncing allegations for the Super Bowl, and we all know like that girl can sing.
Mm.
And even if I mean if you can't sing, that's fine. Like, do we remember Lana Del Rey? And this is me aging myself, but those like viral videos of her like sounding awful on stage, but she's sung live as well, like which has been absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I don't think any artist can escape the lip syncing rumors. I think yeah, it is what it
That's
is. Yeah.
part of it. Okay, yeah, fair. There's a lot going on with NewJeans. They had their first like court appearance, and afterwards have been going and vaguely posting on Instagram in a very like post breakup how teenagers behave, where it's like, oh, there's so much to do, but like, how can I explain? I mean, I'm viewing it through the lens of a like spectator, very third party. I think a lot of people are taking this to mean something bigger about how maybe their court cases don't have that much merit. I think we've done an entire episode breaking it down. There's been a lot of updates since. Yeah, I know, but we recently did one. Go check it out. I mean, there have been updates, but it does sort of cover at least our feelings on it. Has yours changed?
I mean, I'm I'm just like, what is going on? It's like it has kept me on my toes. New Jeans is keeping everyone on their toes because they are behaving like they are out of a contract. They're actually now releasing merch, which is very new. Like it's very interesting. I think the court case and everything that happened in it, the videos, all of that, the stories around it. It's just so interesting. But a lot of it has to do with somebody hearing something and not being able to verify that it actually happened. And to me, it's just like, is this worth like government money, taxes?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a really interesting thing. And somebody else also said that it'd be really bizarre if the amount of like attention this case has gotten, and if they were to win their case when there is actual, well, not actual, I'm sure what their experience is their experience, but like very intense mistreatment of idols and artists over the years, and they've never seen retribution in the same way. So it'd be really strange if New Jeans were to win their case. I don't know if I agree. I do think it's a great like point to be made.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of like artists who've been mistreated potentially, this is really sad news. We sung an older K-pop idol passed away recently. I only know one song called Insomnia, and they were relatively young, like I think they're our age. So it's really sad, and it feels like such events have been occurring more and more often. Or is that just, I don't know, does that just feel like a coincidence?
Not to be like speaking of deaths, but Kim Se-ron, who was an actress, like recently passed away, unfortunately. And she was like a child actor who grew up in the industry. She had a drunk drive, a DUI accident, after which she got kind of blacklisted and struggled throughout that time, and then eventually ended her life. Interestingly, there have been rumors that she had been in a relationship with Kim So Hyun from Queen of Tears fame for over 6 years,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
he has known her, and these are all alleged rumors, since she was 15, and was also helping her financially while she was in her blacklist era. So he has
I
completely denied these rumors and said it's completely unacceptable, but who knows?
Yeah, I want to believe in the kindness of humans, and I want to say that that this may not actually be real, or maybe that there's really nothing merit to this.
Mhm.
But who, like, yeah, men with power, influence, money do tend to get away with things. I think the P. Diddy trial is literally an example of this right now. I think Weinstein, everybody, like, it's these are all things that have existed for decades, and they have really gotten away with a lot, and now things are coming out and they're having some sort of like reaction and pushback from their behavior. I mean, Brad Pitt is still making movies, and he was caught on camera beating his wife and children. So like,
And his wife is the Angelina Jolie.
exactly, yeah. So who is another person with power, influence, and money? So, in the battle of he said she said, I think what he said tends to win. Speaking of he said, she said, it's not really. But like, to end this on a slightly lighter note so that we can then start talking about everything, like Jennie. Aurora was one of the artists who was performing this weekend as well. If you're not familiar, Aurora, I think one of the most famous things that she's done is she was the voice of the spirit in Frozen 2,
Yeah, and she also had a viral TikTok
Runaway.
moment, Runaway. Yeah.
Yeah, she did perform that, and people really sort of lost their mind. And I think if you do hear that song, you are then immediately transported back to COVID era, where all the songs on reels and TikTok were that. She said something. Okay, I as such really enjoy her. I really like her music, and I think like her art should be supported. But she said something, the way that my respect for her shot through the sky, where she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna sing a love song right now. It's the only love song I have because I think writing about love is boring." And I was like, oh my God, the way that
Interesting.
that is. my feeling exactly, because it just seems like such a boring topic. Like, can we have more depth as a human being? Ugh. But yes, now that we've talked about love and music, I think it's time to get into everything Ruby. I already said this. To me, it genuinely feels like this sort of point, a flag in the ground from Jennie about like her declaration of independence from this like K-pop landscape. But there's so many more tracks. It's a massive album. Repeating myself from Lisa's album deep dive, a monster of an album. Like 15 tracks are not easy to churn out. Are you ready to break it down?
Yes, 100%. I also watched the Zen Lo interview that Jenny did before the release of the album, and I thought that was very insightful. Like usually, I generally don't have time to watch a lot of interviews, and Zen Lo interviews are like an hour, hour and a half long. But this was very interesting because it kind of gave us a background into the work that she put in while making this album, where it's I think she worked on it for a year or more, to year and a half, and it was the first time obviously that she is doing a whole album on her own outside of YG. And she talked about how she was like, okay, we have a lot of time and I want to do all of these things, but when they actually got to it, it was a lot harder. And apparently, according to Zenlo, like every like because they send the music to the radio beforehand, so even
Oh,
like a week or 2 weeks in advance, they were like, this is a version, but this is not the final version. And then they were like, this is a version, and then this is not a final version. It was probably 2 or 3 days before the release of like Jenny that they give the actual final version of like Jenny, because yeah, it's this, I think this thing as a first time artist where the first album you're releasing is a culmination of everything you, all your artistry and everything you've probably wanted to do for your entire life before releasing that first big album. And it's like, how do you make it perfect? So I think it was a good insight into knowing what was the goal of this album and where she was coming from before listening to it. And I think, yeah, I have thoughts and I do see what it was getting at.
not to mention my mans in every single episode, but like there was this, I don't know if it's an interview or if it's something else, but Yoongi has talked about something similar where he had to learn the process of like, once it's done, you have to let it be done. You
Mhm.
can't like keep going back and dipping into it and being like, oh, let me just change this, let me just bring that back. Everyone would suffer from that, not just like musicians and all of that. I think even on a day to day basis, you always feel like, oh, थोड़ी और कसर रह गई, कुछ और ये कर लो, or something else along those lines. I think there's been such a long wait. Jenny's like first album was 2018, which at this point is 7 years ago. She's probably been sitting around making notes, being like, "Oh, these are all the things I want to add into my album," which clearly you can see in these 15 tracks.
Yeah.
I think let's get started with the first song and the title track. Oh no, sorry, there's an intro.
There is.
Sorry, this is not the first song. There is an intro and it has FKJ.
I talked about this to you before, but I didn't say it to you guys. But I did hear the album sampler before. And the minute I saw FKJ, I heard the sound. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Like, sonically, I was very excited for this album listening to the sampler, and it did not disappoint. I think the intro was a nice, sweet, like, fun FKJ kind of a vibe, and it was interesting. I wouldn't like, I didn't like hate it, I didn't like love it or go back to it or whatever. It was like an interesting, nice sonic kind of a step into the world of Ruby. That's what I felt it was giving us, and I think it played its part very well.
I usually think of intros or any of these like transitional songs. I mean, this was clearly an intro and not a transition, as like overtures in classical music, where it sort of gives you, or like musicals, where like it gives you the theme of what to expect over the next like period of time of listening to this work of art. I don't know if this intro did that for me. I think it was a really good piece of music. I enjoyed it, and I think FKJ really, there was great influence there and all of that. But did it tell me anything about the album? Honestly, no. And somebody did say this. Like I was on Twitter and somebody said like it comes back circle, like Twin being the last track. And if you listen to the intro again, it almost feels like you're coming full circle. I tried doing that as well. I get what they mean in terms of like maybe the softness of Twin coming to the softness of the intro, but I don't know if I see that just yet.
I see that. I feel like maybe it's like it doesn't have a lot of words. It just says run. So I think the run is like run away or get out, or it's just sort of an initiation of some sort is what I found it to be.
Okay, now the title track, Like Jennie.
I am obsessed. Obsessed. Like, oh my god. I did not expect this. This is something I maybe expected from Lisa, but the way Jenny delivered, the way. Okay, first of all, let me calm down because I am actually genuinely obsessed. I'm obsessed with the music. I'm obsessed with the video. It has so many elements. Everything that I love about it, starting with the genre, it's Brazilian funk. And if anyone keeps up with The Weeknd, he released a Brazilian funk song called Sao Paulo, featuring Anita, like literally 2 3 months ago. And it's like the drum, rhythmic beats, everything. Super cool, super fun, super down my alley. I was here for it. I also love the chorus. Like it's like the Jenny part. It's not a song. Like it's kind of breaking what is a song, and it's just like a chant, and it's like sonically very interesting. I like that they start the chorus like literally, okay, let's get to the chorus, don't bore us, because that is like the most fun part of the song. And also the rap parts have been written by Zico, and you can really tell like the progression, the wordplay. So even at the end when the wordplay is like Jenny Jenny, which in Korean translates to is it her, so when she's like pointing at everyone and like who is it, it's Jenny. Like it's a very cool song, and I'm also obsessed with the video. Like the dancing is also by We Dem Boys, which is one of my favorite Korean dance groups. Anybody who watches Street Man Fighter would know, but I really like it. If you can't tell.
I really wanted to like the song. Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of things that are wrong with it behind the scenes, which have now like impacted the way I look at the song. Primary, and I think the lowest of the rung, honestly, in terms of like issues that I personally have, is the fact that it has been sampled. If you're listening to us on Spotify, I have done heavy air quotes on sampling because there's no admission that it's been sampled so far. And Diplo on his Instagram and social and everywhere is claiming to have created the song from scratch. There was this Bollywood movie. It's called Rocky and Rani Ki Prem Kahani. And Rani, who's played by Alia Bhatt, this is her intro song. Like it says, instead of Jenny, it says Rani, Rani on repeat. But like it genuinely is the same song. I mean, I get it. Sampling happens, so I that's why I was not like too pressed. I think the reaction with Diplo and everybody being like, "No, we created this from scratch," is the issue that I have. Other than that, yeah, that was sampling does exist. Like I don't think that's bad. However, I do have a problem with Diplo. I mean, there's been far too many Me Too allegations against him. There's been a lot of grooming. There's been a lot of rape, a lot of revenge corn. And no smoke without fire, I choose to believe victims. And it just makes me really uncomfortable that he's sort of a part of this female empowerment anthem. It's really icky. So that's why it's been really hard to enjoy this song for me personally. I do see what you mean. Like it is catchy. I think having heard the original that was composed by Preetham, who is again a phenomenal composer. Even that is really good. So here for that, really disappointed because like I love Zico. So I would have wanted to listen to the song. It's just really hard for me to do that now. Speaking of the MV, what's up with the capybara?
I mean, Jenny loves capybara. This is probably the fourth time we've seen a capybara in a Blackpink video or thing.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I
yeah,
knew that she's a fan, but I didn't realize like we would have a phoenix from the ashes capybara. Oh,
yeah.
but I do have to add, okay, okay. You're right. The dance in the MV was lit. I was like blown away. But staying true to Jenny as a performer, I watched a performance video. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
But
did not
also, by the way, about the Rani thing, I I don't think like you can't call that plagiarism because it's literally just like one part of a song, and if you actually listen to the Preetham song, it's very different. They do repeat the word Rani over and over again, and Preetham famously did come out and he did say that like music is an art form, and he doesn't believe as well that it's picked up. So I'm not really sold on it. I mean, it could be, it could not be, but
To me, it sounds really familiar. It sounds exactly the same. Honestly, instead of Rani, they say Jenny. In my head, it sounds exactly the same. I'm not saying plagiarism because I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. I'm sure there must be more. I feel like if any of the producers, like if Zico who wrote or Diplo who wrote and produced, anybody else who came out lesser, like no, that's not the right pronunciation. I'm pronouncing it wrong. But yeah, anybody else, if they came out and said, yeah, like even like, Britney Spears Toxic has also sampled like Desi songs. So if anybody was to just say, yeah, we sampled this, and that would be the end of the conversation, nobody would be pressed. I think the defense being like, no, it's ours, is just like, it's not.
I
It's
think
okay
it's
that it's not.
possible. Like, I don't think it's something that crazily like imaginable.
I don't agree, but okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
moving on to the next song,
Did I write this?
which
Oh, yeah, I did.
is,
Start a war.
I really like this song. I somehow I have I know Jenny's sung like ballady songs. I've never really cared for them as such. And honestly, like before this album, I've never actually been into much of Jenny's solo music specifically, but somehow I really liked how this song was made. And I think this is something I felt throughout the album where sonically there was so much attention paid to like a lot of elements. I like, especially in the song where like after the chorus, the second part where they just start double timing, like that was so
Hmm.
interesting. It's really nice. Like it was something that I would listen to. Just like it was a good, pleasant listen, and it kept things interesting. Like it could get a little boring, but it didn't, and I think that was cool.
In my notes, I've written Sophia's gonna like this song.
Rude, you can't say these things about in your notes.
I've literally written Sophia's gonna like this song because it sounds like Shazza. It had a
That's
very like Shazza quality to for me. Like there was this emotive and like I think it was
mm.
like a mix of maybe Shazza and Miley. That's like what I've written down.
I feel the Miley.
Yeah, and also I feel like this was a very I'm not very fluent in all of Blackpink and their discography, but it felt like a mature answer to Kill This Love, where it was like revenge fantasies giving way to like the reality of emotional fallout.
You know what this gave me, and I think this I feel a lot. This gave me Rihanna.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's the one artist I've not mentioned in this track list at all. But I could see it. Yeah. I think maybe Shiza and Miley together do make a Rihanna. But having said that, this song, and I think this is going to be a recurring theme for a lot of this album, where I can appreciate the music, but I definitely don't think it's something that I'm going to come back to. But I think that's just, again, like a personal preference of music as opposed to anything critical about this album or song. Next, Handlebars featuring Dua Lipa.
So I was skeptical when I heard about, like, when I read this about the song. Like, I couldn't envision what a Dua Lipa and Jennie collab would sound like. And I will say this was not what I expected. Like, this was not our upbeat 80s Dua. This was not like baddie Jennie. And I think whoever made this was, they were smart. Like, I remember talking about this in the Lisa album where there were a lot of songs where the collaborators kind of stood very different from the song. And I think whoever did the song, whoever did the production and the whatever composition, really made sure that whatever they did was cohesive. Like, I was surprised at how cohesive it was. Like, I was actually shook because there have been some Dua Lipa collaborations as well, which I'm just like the Megan the Stallion one. I was just like, what is going on here? And this was so well created. Like, I was surprised. I don't think this is a song I will listen to. It's not my kind of music. They did release a video as well, so it's not something I
Oh,
liked in that sense. Not that I dislike the song. it was nice. It was interestingly done, and I appreciate it for what it was. But it's not just something I would listen to.
Yeah, I think we're just going to echo the same that sentiment throughout this. Yeah, no, I was shocked. I thought both of them sounded fantastic. They worked really well together. I think I don't know if they were complementary voices. I feel like there are better examples in the album as we go through where it feels like Jennie had somebody to play off of, versus this felt very like two girls singing in a choir together
Hmm.
versus being able to like do interesting things with their voices. But I think that's maybe the demand of the production. I'm really not sure how it was written. Somebody on Twitter wrote like this was a song meant for dance challenges on social media, and I think I we are all experiencing different kinds of social media because I'm like what dance challenge is happening on this? And out of the entire album, this is the song you're saying is the dance challenge one? Same thing. Not it's not something I'm coming back to, but that doesn't mean it's not a good song.
I'll also say the one thing which you mentioned at the beginning of before we started talking about the album. This album has better things to offer, telling Jenny's perspective than a vague love song.
Yeah, okay, that I do agree with. It is a lot of that as opposed to just I met a boy and I am in love and the world is rosy. Should I go into songwriting? Okay, next. With the IE way up. What did you think?
Again, this was so smart, like taking the chorus from Jenny from the block, but she's Jenny with the IE. Like it's so fun. Like somebody actually thought about it, whether it was Jenny or somebody else. Like they really thought about it. Like, hey, you're Jenny from the block, but like with an IE. I don't love the song. It's hip hop, but it's like a very generic hip hop. It's not a sound that I love. I didn't really care for it. It's super popular. I know everybody loves it. Like after like Jenny, this is one of the most popular song. Everyone's talking about it. It's a party song, and like I think what they did with it was clever, but not my vibe at all.
Mhm. No, I think it's so smart. And how has this not already been like this should have been in her original debut album solo? Like it was sitting right there. I'm glad it's happened now. I did like the song. You're right, it is generic hip hop, but I'm okay with that. And I don't know if I expected any edgy hip hop from a non collab song from Jenny, to be honest. So this was I enjoyed it. I think this was the first song on the album that I've written. Finally enjoyed it. So maybe it's coming going on a playlist.
So next we have Extra L featuring Doechii, which was a
Okay.
single that has been released before the album came out. There's a music video, and it's produced by Dem Joins. So what did you think?
I really liked it. I wanted to like it more because I really like Doechii and I think she's fantastic. It wasn't the best. Maybe my expectations were too high and it didn't match it. But it's a really good song. And there's of course I think this entire album and a lot of Blackpink and a lot of Blackpink solos have very strong female empowerment like themes and messaging, and I think this song also continues to do that, which is great. And I think this was a good example. I mean, most of the songs in this album, to be honest, are great examples of Jenny's versatility of being like she can be placed into any genre, exist, not just exist, like thrive. And I think this was a great example of it.
Think I actually I didn't like the song when it came out, but over time it grew on me, and it really because I like Doechii but don't always like Doechii, but I really liked this performance. I did feel it was, I mean, she does refer Nicki Minaj into this, and this was a heavily this was a Nicki Minaj homage, one could say, honestly, her part. But it was really fun, and I liked Jenny's part. I love the music video. I also really like a lot of Blackpink's music is female empowerment, but this was very specifically like like women in the music industry kind of an
Hmm.
empowerment song, which I think was really cool, especially that one line which was like, this one's for the ladies without the company and who have their own money or something like that, which a lot of NewJeans fans felt like it was for NewJeans. But no, there are a lot of artists who don't get support from their companies, and they are funding their own musical stuff on their own. And I think whatever, like, it's a struggle. We all know that the music industry is harsh. Even if you're Taylor Swift, you don't own the masters to your songs. So it is a harsh industry. So I think the specific shout out felt very pivotal, and I did enjoy it. I think the chorus is super catchy, and
Hmm.
yeah, it does make me feel empowered.
Mantra, another pre-release track. I think we have all the pre-release tracks back to back in the album track list. And this was, I think, the first one out of all of them which was released. What did you think?
Again, this was a song that I didn't really care for when it came out, but like over time, this is also one of those, like, I think a lot of the pre-release tracks are like wake up and when you're getting ready to go to work or go to school. If you play them, you will feel like, okay, I'm doing my makeup, listening to Pretty Girl Mantra. Like that's the song it's for. I think I enjoyed it in that. It's not, again, it's not like sonically crazy or whatever, but I think it's a great, it was the first release track, and I think it's great in that sense because it kind of didn't tell us what the rest of the album could be like. I think this is the closest to what a Blackpink solo expectation would give you.
Hmm.
So I think it was smart in the sense that it didn't break any barriers, but it's still a fun, catchy song, and it's for all the pretty girls. It's like the beautiful girls of our generation.
I agree. I do really enjoy the like brassy production that this entire track has, and it's been an interesting listen. It's not something that I listen to generally, but it has been in workout mixes, and it always like puts a pep in my step, and I really enjoy that. I could be wrong, but this may be the best lyrics of the entire album. So I haven't like again sat through and combed through every single like lyric sheet of any of the tracks, but from whatever I've heard and managed it, nothing really stood out to me. But this one had more play on words. There was more like action going on in terms of lyrics. Keep in mind, I don't listen to like Jennie, so maybe there's a lot going on there. So ignore that from my perspective. 13 tracks. This one seems the best written. Love Hangover featuring Dominic Fike.
So, like the other pre-release tracks, I also did not like this when it came out. but then I, but then I did listen once. It was just playing, and I heard it, and I liked that part. And I was like, what song is this? And then I go back to it, and it's Love Hangover. And then I realized why I didn't like this song. Because I love Jenny's part. I don't think Dominic Fike belongs in this song. Like, remove him. Like, like that. It felt like that one episode of Euphoria where he just sat and sang his song forever. Like, why are you singing? Like, no hate to Dominic Fike, but I don't really stop singing. Sorry. Harsh. Like, the more I listen to this song, the more I feel like I would have loved a Mac Miller collaboration or a feature on this. Like, it's just the perfect chill hop kind of vibe, and he would have like slid on it like butter. But R.I.P. Mac Miller, great artist. Yeah, I like Jenny's part. I think they should like do a version without Dominic Fike. Like, what are you rapping about? Like, shut up. First of all, you're not a rapper.
Yeah, I was prepared to dislike the song because I think it's very well established. Love songs aren't my vibe. Shocking. But this is a very well laid out track list. I think this was like a good Love Hangover is a good midpoint where it sort of transitions from upbeat, high tempo songs to now the more sort of ballady second half of the album. So this was a good midway for that. And you're right, her vocals were phenomenal. Like I think she harmonized really well with Dominic Fike. I think her note changes were executed really well. And she did this whole falsetto thing as well, which comes back in another song as well, which I think is it's a great representation of what she's able to do. You're right, like the Dominic Fike maybe isn't the best. I don't think I've that strong a reaction as you do. I don't think
Like, why are you
he
out
is
here singing about baby mamas? Shut up.
yeah, I felt like he definitely pulled the song down. But in that way, it did give Jenny a great way to shine. So maybe, that's the silver lining. Okay,
Mm.
next. And now really getting into the sort of ballad second half with Zen. What did you think?
I didn't know why they made this when they put it out there. I think it was cool as an album teaser or whatever. But I think now that I listen to it in the album, I see it like where Love Hangover was the transition. I think you can call Zen the interlude. It's going from like a power heavy. era to a more zen chill era. And I guess she's trying to be more introspective. I think there are like lyrically there are some moments of kind of we take a look into how she's feeling, where it's like a fight. It's like you can't put me down, but she's also feeling like pushed down, like they're like chains on my neck and ring, and it's a pressure. So it's like I think this was one of my big complaints with Lisa's album, where it was just about the rings and the chains, but at no point was there a depth. Not to compare, but like there was no acknowledgement of like her as a person. It was just her as a star. I think here, while it doesn't go too much into it, it kind of gives us like slight glimpses of like the fact that there's also a person behind this star persona. And maybe the second half kind of goes more into that, which is why they thought this was a good place to put it. It was interesting. I Again, nothing I'm going to go back to, and I don't think that's the role it plays, but it was sonically fun, lyrically fun, like good middle point.
Yeah, even I've written like really unusual and interesting new type of sound for Jenny in my notes. Which is true. This is not a song I would have ever thought that I would hear on a Jenny album. I think even the beginning with the nature ASMR, I thought that was really interesting. In terms of its place on the album, honestly, for me, this could have been an intro. Like this could have replaced the intro, and I would have been fine with it. Once again, it doesn't necessarily cover the overture of the album, but there is a lot more that this song I felt like Zen provided than the actual intro did. But other than that, yeah, I think there was a lot of, I mean, I'm going to say this in my final thoughts as well, but this album felt so intentional. And this was a great example of that, where she was like, maybe her marketing team, whoever, like, they sat down and they were like, no, this song has to be there. Okay.
So, to refer
Oh,
back to the Zane Lowe interview, she did mention, and I'm just reading this off of Genius because I don't remember an hour and a half long interview, where this song came 6 months into her doing the album, and she felt like she was like trying to get to a place, but she couldn't actually put a pin in it, like what it was. So the words that she wrote in Zen were kind of like the conversations she had with one of the writers who she said was a big influence for the album. And it was more of like the message and the words, and kind of like, what is it that companies have, mission and vision.
yeah, mission statements.
Yeah, so it was kind of like the mission statement of what she wanted to express in this album, and that's where Zen came about.
The fact that you, as an MBA student, are asking, what is it that companies have is worrying. Damn right, featuring Childish Gambino and Kali Uchis. I'm just gonna go first. Sorry, I have so many thoughts. No, so many feelings.
Okay,
I
no,
don't know
but
if I'll.
first, did you write in your notes that Sophia will like this?
Of course I did. I've literally written in my last thing. I've written it feels seven-seater Jordan Sparks Shazza inspired. Of course, Sophia's going to like this. I think all the featured artists, these two are probably my top three. Like I think Doechii, Childish Gambino, and Kali Uchis. I love them all. Childish Gambino, I didn't even know he was a real rapper because I knew him as an actor for years. So this finding out he does more was a great like surprise. But this was so interesting. This was like all three of their voices did really well. I think another great example of like Jenny just being able to fit into any sort of genre. This was a Kali Uchis song, honestly. This was not a Jenny song for me. This was a Kali Uchis song from the beginning. The sort of languid tempo of it and all of that. Like that felt very Kali to me. And the fact that Jenny's settled in comfortably there was great. And similarly, Childish Gambino coming in with his verse was really fun. And I mean, we know that he can do a lot. I mean, okay, I know because I love him that he can do a lot and sort of cover different sort of genres and things. So this felt like a great trio to me. Honestly, if these three were to get together and do another song, I'm here for it.
Yeah, totally agreed. I think one thing that is very cool about this is that the producer, Mike Will, made it, aka Mike Will, is also the producer for Kendrick Lamar's Humble, DNA, and Beyonce's Formation, as well as other like interestingly, like sonically interesting song from popular artists. And Yeah, I think this is where Jenny sits really well for me. This is like this new age R&B Kali, which is obviously we love. Childish Gambino also makes like similar, like it's like R&B but artistic, R&B but like jazzy, elevated, like something. There's always something going on. I think the back and forth between all of them was very complimentary, like you said. Is this was I won't even lie, this was my favorite of the album. To me, this could have been a single, and I think it's a big miss that they didn't. I think a lot of the times, a lot of popular artists and K-pop artists feel like the big banger songs need to be singles, but this, I think, it's such a good song. It's such a well-made song, and one more thing that yeah, sorry. So, like, one Jenny song that I actually really liked before this came out was her song on the Idol album with The Weeknd and Lily Rose Depp. And I think she does really well with the slow R&B songs. And I really think I
Mhm.
would love to see more of this from Jenny. Like, this is a pocket. Like, yes, she's a good rapper. Yes, she can sing ballads. But I think the R&B pocket is where, because she has this like raspy voice, which sits really well in the kind of music. So I would love more of this. But yeah, I love the song. It's so good.
It was, yeah, it was a fantastic like way to sort of because I felt like with Zen and everything you sort of slowed down, but like this was slow but great.
Mm.
Okay, next FTS. For monetization reasons, we can't say the full form. What did you think?
I think it was like a fun, like again, it's like Pretty Girl Mantra, the other side, like when you're like done from work and you're just like angry and you're like FTS. That's what it was like. It also was nice to again see some level of like emotion from Jenny, where it. I mean, maybe I'm reading too deep into it, but sometimes like this kind of felt like about crazy fans or crazy media who are reading a lot into your life, and like Jenny is somebody who's constantly in focus of that and does get a lot of hate and shit because of that. Oh no, I said it. But yeah, it felt like kind of an answer to like a frustration kind of a song. It was nice. Like again, nothing I would listen to like go back to, but it was nice to have that. And apparently it also means flip the script, so
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah.
Does she say that in the song at any point?
No, she says it in the interview.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was like, whoa, I just missed that. This can I be controversial? I'm not even gonna be brave. I'm okay. I'm scared of actually admitting this. This feels like the Taney song to me.
Hmm.
Like I think she has been under a lot of scrutiny over the last couple of years because of the Taney thing.
I'm glad you mentioned it because in my mind there's another Taney song.
Okay, curious to see what that is. I was like, this feels breakup anthem ish, maybe like Taylor. It felt very Taylor Swift. It was edgy love, all over it. So absolutely not my vibe. And I mean, if it is about Taney, then it's not my vibe. But yeah, who knows? I'm curious. I think the flip the script aspect of it brings more depth to the song than I feel coming otherwise. But I guess if you have to explain your song, then you're not doing a great job of expressing it. It's not a bad song. It's genuine. It's never going to be a song that I will ever appreciate because thematically it's not for me. Musically, it was very mid. Honestly, it was very mid. It was mid. It was your middle number. Okay, next. Filter. What did you think?
So there's another famous song called Filter that I really liked, and I was like, can I really like two songs called Filter? Apparently, I can. This is again a Them Joins production. Them Joins for me is a very hit or miss kind of a producer. Like I either love his music or I like NCT hate the music. But oh my god, that meowing sound and the way it turned into music, it's just sonically was the sonically was probably my favorite on the album. Like it was such a delight to listen to, and like lyrically, yeah, it was good. Like it was like Jenny to me, it was like telling herself to not have a filter or telling people to look beyond the filter, whatever. Like fun, nice song, but oh my god, sonically it's so fun. Like at the minute it came on, I was like, what is this? Whose cat is meowing?
Literally, my notes are like, was that meow meow the meme sound? I was so confused. I was like, I'm definitely like, I was like, oh my God, this is what brain rot is. I've spent too much time on the internet, but thank you for validating this. I thought it was an interesting song. I don't necessarily like sonically, I don't know if I managed to appreciate it the way you did, especially because I felt like there were a lot of really abrupt tonal switches that happened constantly,
Which is
which
very them joints.
Mhm. And it can work. I don't
Mm.
know if it worked in this song for me. I felt like it took me out of it, where I was like, huh? As opposed to be like, whoa. It didn't feel like it was dynamic. It felt really sudden. But in terms of like the lyrics and the theme of the song, I thought that was really interesting. I think introspection is boring if you're just talking about yourself. I think there was a lot about like maintaining your image and being able to be free from the shackles. This song, and then there'll be more, I think it got a little repetitive in terms of thematic for me because I think, was it Zen or was it, yeah, it was Zen. Yeah, Zen and Filter, I felt like were too similar in their messaging and the words and verbiage that Jenny used. They are very different sonically, so maybe that's why they both exist. They don't need to, unless there was like a distinct effort made to have different lyrics. To me, it was very similar. And in a world where two filters exist, I think I'm choosing the other one. Soul City.
I really like this. I was not in fact on the first listen I didn't care for it. In the second listen, it was it was I think it's just a vibe song. Like this is like lo-fi, you're driving in the back of a taxi on the street of Seoul and it's like raining. Like this is
Mm.
what it's giving to. I think her voice was used really well in this song. Like the vibe, this was a vibe, and I think whoever made it, I think this is also Mike Will, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, Mike Will and two other producers. So yeah, the vibes were immaculate, as they say.
It's, I think, the most down to earth like track of the album. I think same issue that I have with Filter and Zen. I feel like this Filter and Within IE were all, they could all be the same song. Not, they don't sonically, I feel like they're different, but like thematically, lyrically, it comes back to the same message of growing up in Seoul with the pressure on me, acknowledging the struggles she faced while growing up in the spotlight. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. Which I felt like there was the whole filter and mirage facade thing that you have to have in, in front of the public eye, and with the Jennie from the block thing of like having respect for your roots, they were just really similar. That's not a bad thing, but when you have such a long album, do you really need to repeat yourself this many times? I feel like it, these songs could, I don't know, maybe be left on the cutting floor, not for any other reason, just because of thematic. And this could be a more tighter album. Not that it's like, really genuinely, it's not a bad song. I really do like it, but
Hmm.
it was just, it got a little boring and repetitive for me to just listen to, where I was just like, okay, what else is happening now? And I
Hmm.
think it's fine to have the same struggles constantly. Like, we can keep coming back to the same issue.
That's interesting because I actually like this perspective that it provided. And yeah, Jenny from the Block was different. I think Filter, while lyrically wasn't a very new way of saying the same thing, but I think the way Soul City, it was like role playing or like kind of like a like telling, like there was more story to this is what I felt, where it was very specific to being the idol, and then there's like some power imbalance. In fact, to me it felt like there was actually something more, but in the interview she did like mention how there are like some parts about her like idol life that she's not ready to talk about. So yeah, this felt like one of those where it's like, give me more. It didn't feel, maybe I'm just like making it deeper than it is, when the author says that the sky is blue, the sky is blue. Maybe there's
Or it
something
could
more.
be. It could be. This might be like her the scratching the surface of the issues, and then like maybe eventually it snowballs into something. Who knows? Penultimate song, Starlight.
Not
Did you
much, to
forget
be
the song?
honest. I think I was in a very good place with the past six, seven songs, but this song I didn't really care for.
Mm.
It's very forgettable to me, to be very honest.
I wish I could forget it. I really wish I could. An experience that I have experienced and I can't, it's not leaving, which is not great because with the other songs that I was like, oh, it could have been left out just to like make it a tighter album. This should have been left out. This was horrible. This was so bad. Like this was genuinely really bad, and it was a shock when you had these like how are you telling me that Extra L is on the same album as Starlight? This is giving On featuring Sia level of bad for me. Like this is so bad, especially because the even not especially also because the lyrics was so bad. What is starlight, star bright, starlight, bright, and then it goes starlight. What? Did somebody get paid to write that? Like that was like my life is rosy lyrics. Like that was so bad.
Is this a love song?
Yes, convey themes of love, longing, and finding solace in someone special.
Oh, I thought this was again like one of those idle life struggle songs.
I mean, maybe that was there too. Who knows? This was not good, and I struggled so much because I didn't want to be like a hater max, which I am, but I tried to put in one positive thing, which was like the audio mixing was possibly the best in the whole album of this song. But I am curious, there was this dialogue exchange at the beginning of the song. Is it sampled? Is it real? What is it? Is it I don't get this reference. Of course, it's also in Korean, so I don't understand. I'm very curious. If anybody knows, please let us know in the comments below.
So it's actually a actor called Yu Jingu,
Oh,
who's like Jungkook's friend, I think, or whatever. Not relevant. But he was like a child actor. They're just saying like, "Oh, is that a star? I think that's a star."
that is the extent of what the lyrics were.
They're like, "What is the beginning and end of a star? I don't know. Would it be somewhere in between?"
Okay, last song, Twin.
I didn't think I'd like this song. I thought that okay, like lullaby, last song, ballady, whatever. Like I would think it's a skip. But surprisingly, I really liked it. Like I thought like sonically it wasn't like crazy. I loved it lyrically, and I think because it was like the melancholy of it wasn't very obvious, but it was like and like okay, first of all, let's be honest, I love songs about friendship. Like and whether this is about friendship or is it about Tenny, who knows? Who knows? But either way, it's very nice because it's like this longing and like this is Airplane by J-Hope, but like the dark side again, where it's like you're famous, you're rich, you're going around the world, but you're separated from the person that you were really close with, and you're like, okay, maybe one day we'll see each other again. And like there's also like maybe they fell apart, we don't know what happened, but like it's like friendships that ended, you didn't want them to end, you hope that maybe someday things would work again. And again, this could be friendship or romantic, but like it's about friends drifting apart.
To me, it felt like Friends, very honestly, because I think she says friend quite a lot in the lyrics as well. Like it's twin, friend, twin, friend. Lyrically, it was not the most inspired to me, but I was here for the theme of it. I think you're right. Like, I think there's friends, love of friends, and all of that is such an important aspect of our social lives, and it just doesn't get featured enough in music. Instead, everybody wants to talk about that special kind of someone. Yeah, this was the token ballad song. I think the acoustic guitar was an interesting idea. To get her to have these like raw stripped down vocals was an interesting idea. I think I'd like to watch a live performance of this song as well. Continuing about how much I hated Starlight, I feel like if Starlight was removed and it was just Twin as the like main ballad of the album, that would have been a great way to like end this in the sense of like female empowerment as the theme that goes on. That's why I'm sticking to like this is a friend song. This is like we were two like twins and having lost that relationship and stuff. I think that was a really sweet message, and like that's important and something so many of us can relate to.
And it also felt like the most personal, like the song that gave me the most insight into Jennie as a human being.
Okay, we are done with all the tracks. Do you want to do your favorite? Do you have a favorite? Do you have multiple favorites?
Yeah, I have like a top three for sure. Okay, let's number one right now is like a, a tie between Damn Right and like Jenny. Number two or three, depending on whichever wins. Number two is Filter. I love that song. Like,
Yeah, Damn Right. Damn Right was absolutely my favorite. The minute it started, it was really amazing. Like I said, to me, it reads more like a Kali Uchis song. So I don't know if it's necessarily Jenny's best work, but as a song, it's one of the best. I think Jenny has herself like better music that she can, not better music, better examples of her work. But this was a really, really good song to be there. I think even within IE, I think even that would be one of my top songs in this album. But yeah, what were your favorite tracks in this album? Let us know below. Do you have like any final thoughts about wrapping up this whole album experience?
yeah, I thought that it was quite an experience, and it felt that there was a lot of like sonically. I really enjoyed this album. I think there was thought put into like, yeah, everything was very intentional, and it felt like to me, maybe I'm just projecting. It felt like this is the kinds of music that Jenny listens to. Like that's kind of what it felt like to me. It felt like the influences, I could feel it. It didn't feel like there was just diversity for the sake of diversity. Like it wasn't like here's a ballad song, here's a rap song, here's an R&B song. It didn't feel like that. It felt like there was more of a connection to the music that was in the album, and because of that, it felt like there was some soul here, which
Hmm.
for me a lot of Blackpink music is has often lacked. Yeah, but sonically I really enjoyed this album. I think I was not expecting this from her, and I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm looking forward to more music, more R&B, please. But
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I agree. I think this was a really like surprising thing from Jenny. I Out of all four Blackpink members who've now all released solo music now, I didn't expect to like Jenny's very possibly the most.
Mm,
This has been the best out of the four that we've heard so far. I don't know if this is necessarily because I like the album so much, because even Lisa had a lot of features, even Rose had a lot of features, Western artists or like really international big pop stars. But with Jenny, there's something about her music and this entire album. It feels like she's placed herself, and like this album has placed herself as more of a breakout star that can really sort of take over the West as opposed to the others. And I don't know why that is. I do think there's of course recency bias, or like genuinely just enjoying this album more, or maybe the fact that like it was more comfortable. Like I felt like all collabs in this felt very natural. It felt very like, oh yeah, she can do this. And that was great. And like you said, you know, in it there was so much intent behind it. There was like, yes, this is what I want to say, this is why I want to say this, and this is who I want to say it with. Of course, I
mm,
mean, I had my issues where I was like, it's repetitive, but I mean, that's just me. Like, I feel like that. And I think this album as well will be not necessarily dividing, but there will be like discussions like this. I think that there will be fans who like some songs. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who loved Starlight and they have terrible opinions, but it's okay. That's how you learn. But
I
that's
think
what I feel like. Good
one
art
thing.
can be divisive and can have discussions, and that's what art is meant to do. And this has been a great like experience. I went into this being like, I will just listen, make my notes, and we'll get into the recording, and then actually really got invested.
Hmm. I think one thing I think from what you said is like making into the Western music world. It felt like this was made, and of course it's Jenny, but also the producers she picked for this album are people who understand the current state of popular music really well. Not in terms of like these are the genres that are popular, but this is the execution that works. Like this, there's a lot of like sonically what works in K-pop doesn't always
Hmm.
work in other spaces. And I think this album really understood it wasn't a K-pop album.
That's a really good point. You're right. It wasn't a K-pop album. This was more than that. And I'm not naming names, but there were some albums which have come out recently and some music that's come out recently, which is very like trend chasing, very just to hoping to see what sticks. And this was not that. This was like, I'm gonna do what I want. It'll work, it may not work. I'm G with that. So yeah, here for that. I'm really here for experimenting without, I don't know, without need for clout, I guess.
I think like the
And I mean,
FKJ part really emphasizes that because like who's listening to FKJ? But like it's such an important part of the current music scene, you know.
I mean, having said that, it is still Jennie from Blackpink. Like, this is still a massive artist. So even if her experimental songs flop, heavy inverted commas, it's still going to do insane numbers. Like, indie artists are going to never see such numbers in their life. So I mean, let's remember that in the spectrum of things. But yeah, let us know what you thought of the album in your comments below. This time we are coming back in our regularly scheduled. There will be a break for so that you can like catch up on all of these albums. Is there anything else we should listen to? I definitely, I don't know if you guys have heard our previous episode where I was struggling to find a K drama that intrigued me. I think I found one. I think I found maybe two. So maybe our next episode is going to take a break from all this K-pop and go back to K-dramas. Keep an eye out for that. We will see you in 2 weeks. Till then, I was Sarah.
And I was Sophia.
Bye.